Over its almost 16 years, Wizard101 has had a wide variety of updates that transformed the game from an old MMO with outdated graphics to the modern-day classic it is today. How many of these updates do you remember? Did you know that there was an entire update devoted to adding a quest with Selena Gomez? Or what about that time that they put Nick Jonas into the game? In this video, I am explaining all 62 of Wizard101's updates and ranking them from the worst to the best using a tier list. To make each update feel unique, I've given some of the unnamed updates custom names to avoid calling them the fall update of whatever year. Keep in mind these names aren't official with KI, but the contents of these updates are. Without further ado, let's get into the video. Wizard101 released in September 2008, and it did not take long for KingsIsle to release the first update for the game. The first update came in October and is named the Pay by Zone update. This update didn't really add much. It allowed an alternative to membership by letting players purchase areas for crowns instead of buying a membership to access them. This update also added features like the ability to rename your pet, the teleport to dorm button, and quest history. Furthermore, it allowed crowns items to be purchased for gold from Prospector Zeke. This update was a smaller update. It didn't really add anything game-changing, and for the first update, it's not really that memorable in the community, so I've decided to put it at C tier. In January 2009, Wizard101 introduced the world of Dragonspyre and increased the level cap from level 40 to level 50. This update also added ranked PvP and arena tickets. This update also had smaller things in it, such as a new starter wand, the Dueling Diego minigame, and a revamped character page. Something really interesting that I learned is that in the test realm for this update, there was an arena ticket wagering system, meaning players may have been able to bet on PvP matches using arena tickets, but KingsIsle didn't go through with this feature though. This update added a lot to the game. Ranked PvP is a staple of Wizard101. Some of the biggest content creators such as Dakota Earthhorn, AwesomeTheSauce, and Liam Is a Vibe got their start on PvP content. Because of this, I am putting the Dragonspyre update in S tier. The Friendship update was a very small one, just to celebrate Wizard101 reaching the 1 million player milestone. True friend codes were released, which is still used by many players to add other people quickly. This update also introduced the first ever booster pack for Wizard101, the Eye of Bartleby Treasure Card Pack, which was the start of the vast array of Wizard101 packs. And as an award for the 1 million player milestone, KingsIsle also gave players 101 crowns and added new items to Prospector Zeke. Some smaller features were the first Friendship Festival and making ranked PvP accessible to players without membership for an 80 crowns fee. Because this update didn't really add anything besides the true friend code and only added new ways to buy things for crowns, I'm going to put this update in D tier. In March 2009, KingsIsle released the Voiceover update. This update added a lot of unique features to Wizard101, the biggest of which being dialogue in the main questline. Wizard City and Krakatopia were both dubbed, and characters in those worlds now had voices. The second biggest feature in this update was by far the shared bank. This allowed players to transfer items between wizards, something that many players still use to this day. Some minor changes were, the light blue name people on your friends list have in-game was added, the prompt that makes you type abracadabra before deleting a wizard, and Prospector Zeke was moved from Old Town to the Commons. A better ability to screenshot in-game was also added, and to preview location before teleporting to friends was also added in this update. All in all, I would put this update in A tier. The shared bank and voiceover were really nice additions to the game, and some of Wizard101's most iconic voices were added in this update. In April 2009, the Questing update released. In this update, KingsIsle added the Quest Helper, which is the yellow arrow that points you to your next quest objective. Along with this, the 7-pip AoE spells were added, Training Point Buyback was added, the Best Friend feature was added, and Diego was given items that you can buy with arena tickets. These items required you to be a certain PvP rank, which was also added in this update. This update was small at the time, but the 7-pip AoEs and Quest Helper are staples of the game, which elevates this update to an A tier. In May 2009, KingsIsle released the Castle update. This update was massive, the biggest features being customized housing and castles. This update kickstarted the housing community in Wizard101. Another major feature were the mark and recall buttons, which I found hard to believe weren't a thing until 8 months after release. The rest of the worlds, Marleybone, Mushu, and Dragonspyre, were all dubbed with voices. Some minor updates include dungeon warnings and improved shopping experience changes. This update was definitely an S tier. The housing community would not exist without this update. Furthermore, PvEers, imagine questing without mark and recall. Yeah, this update is totally an S tier. In July 2009, the GrizzleCraft update released. Grizzleheim, the first ever side world in Wizard101, came out, and was the biggest addition in the update, but surprisingly not by much. Crafting was also added in this update, along with reagents, and it's really hard to imagine Wizard101 without crafting. But there's even more. The freaking bazaar was added in this update too, an auction house for wizards to sell items so that other wizards can buy them. All three of these features were staples of the game, and it's surprising that they all came out in the same update. Some minor updates by comparison were open chat, groups, privacy settings, and the stun block spell. This update was crazy. The three main features alone could have been an update to themselves, but them all combined is insane. This was definitely an S tier update. These updates just keep getting crazier. First and foremost, mounts were added in this update. Can you imagine questing without a mount for an entire year? Well, that was the case until this update came out in October 2009. The Crowns shop was added with several new items to buy, including elixirs, mounts, and henchmen. Teleporters were added to Mushu, Dragonspyre, and Marleybone. Item stitching was added, which means, of course, Eloise Merryweather, Zeep's wife, was added as well. Gifting was added along with the Brisk Breeze Tower dungeon. Transmutations for crafting and the second chance chest were also added. This update I would say was an S tier. Most of these additions made Wizard101 much more enjoyable, and the quality of life definitely increased in the game as a whole. So yeah, I would put this update in S tier. The final update of 2009 was the Schoolhouse update. This update did three things: added 7 new castles for each school, allowed players to hide opponents' chat in PvP, and updated looks for many creatures in Wizard City. On screen are some before and after pictures. While these features are okay, this update didn't really do much for the game itself, so I will put it in D tier. In May 2010, KingsIsle released the Advanced Pets update. Take a wild guess what you think this update was about. If you said pets, you would be correct. Pretty much everything associated with pets, as they are right now, came from this update. Pet Pavilion, check. Energy, check. Pet Training, check. Pet Talents, check. Pet Games, check. Hatching, check. Energy Elixirs, check. Pet Derby, check. Now, pets were not exactly how they are now. The maximum age for them back then was epic, and some pet games didn't exist yet, but for the most part, everything that has any association with pets was added in this update. That was pretty much everything in this update. Putting it into the tier list is a mixed bag. On the one hand, pets were really cool and offered a certain level of uniqueness to Wizard101. However, the way that they were brought into the game and some elements of pets I find incredibly flawed. Even to this day, I find those elements to be incredibly flawed. So because of this, I'm going to put this Advanced Pet update into the C tier. In July 2010, KingsIsle kickstarted Art 2 in Wizard101, releasing the Celestia prequest. Many people don't know this, but there used to be a semi-long pre-quest before the release of Celestia, requiring wizards to defeat a cheating boss in Marleybone in an area known as the Spiral Geographic Society Archive. This quest was later retired by Khrysalis. Some minor updates in this update include Grizzleheim crafting, house privacy settings, and a Dragonspyre nerf. This update would have been an A tier for me if Khrysalis didn't retire the Celestia pre-quest. I honestly wish they had kept this in the game. It would have made the start of Art 2 a lot less out of nowhere like it is right now. Because of this, I'm going to put this update in B tier.
Round and round.
It's the moment you've all been waiting for, the Selena Gomez quest. I'm sure many of you were waiting for this one. In September 2010, Khrysalis did a partnership with Selena Gomez, releasing the area of Crab Alley in a new quest called Round and Round. In this quest, the wizard has to save Selena Gomez from King Thermidor. Unfortunately, this quest has since been retired, and other than that, nothing else really came from this update. Putting it into the tier list, this quest is very nostalgic and iconic, and the area of Crab Alley paved the way for waterworks, but other than that, not much else came from it, so I'm going to put it in BS tier. I'm putting it in S tier, where it belongs. As for Selena, this quest is the best quest in-game by far. If you do not think that this quest is the best, you are lying to yourself. The best quest in-game, this is where Wizard101 peaked. S tier quest, S tier update, S tier for Selena Gomez. Okay, but for real though, I'm going to put it in B tier. It seems like a while since the last main world was added. In October 2010, the world of Celestia released, which raised the level cap from level 50 to level 60. Each school got a brand new 8-pip level 58 spell. The schools of Sun, Moon, and Star, and many other spells came to the game. Critical and block stats were added, which promptly broke PvP. Some smaller updates were, the Wild Bolt spell was changed, minor shopping enhancements, including buying reagents in bulk, being able to see how many items are in your inventory, reagents, and pet snacks being able to be placed in the shared bank, and some minion buffs. Putting this update into the tier list, I'd put it probably at around A tier. I know I'm a notorious Celestia hater, so I may be a little bit biased and not put in this update in S tier, but think of it in this way. In PvP, Critical absolutely decimated it, and in the same vein, Ifrit was added in this update too. Minions were buffed, causing more chaos in PvP, but at the very least, enchants were kinda cool and they sped up questing quite a bit, and star spells are also pretty cool as well. The effect on PvP this update had would probably bump it down to a B tier, but coming from a PvE perspective, you'd probably put this update at S tier, so I'm going to meet it in the middle and put it at A tier. The final update of 2010 was the Gardening update, which released in December. This update obviously added gardening, which is a really cool feature to the game, and something that is very useful to this day. Other than gardening, there wasn't really much added. Some minor things including increasing the maximum energy and removing no auction on some Celestia items. So basically, if you're questing through Celestia and you're annoyed by your 50th boot of Celestia in totality, just remember, it used to be even worse. All in all, I'd put this update in A tier. Gardening is a very major feature in the game and is a wonderful addition, but that's pretty much all there was here. When compared to other updates in S tier, this update is pretty lacking, so I'll keep it at A. In February 2011, Khrysalis released the Celestian House update. In this update, Khrysalis added 2 new Celestia-themed houses, and the first rollout of member benefits. These member benefits were expanded backpack, less wait time for crafting and hatch timers, expanded friends list, and faster energy regeneration. Editing Pluto here, I was looking at some of these updates again and found out that this was the update that effectively removed Elucidate and Simplify from the game. And this update allowed Cleanse Charm to be used on the Ifrit weakness. Imagine doing PvP matches and you can't cleanse an Ifrit weakness. Or imagine questing through the game and they cast Ifrit on you and you can't cleanse it off. That must have been crazy. Putting this update into the tier list, I'd probably put it at C tier. It didn't really do anything. The member benefits are really cool, which kind of bumps it up a little bit, but besides that, what else did this update really add besides houses? If not for the member benefits, this update probably would have been a D tier, maybe even an F tier, but because of the member benefits alone, it gets bumped to a C tier. In May 2011, KingsIsle released the Winter and Water update. This update is aptly named because two staples of the game were added: the new world of Winterworks and the new dungeon, Watertusk. Wait, no, other way around. Wintertusk and Waterworks. New Grizzlehammer spells were added to the game for level 35s and 55s. A new quest in Crab Alley was added. Goodbye, Selena. You will be missed. Some minor updates were: the Hidden from Friends feature was added, wand stitching, roaming mounts, and the level 58 pet quest. But by far, the most important feature in this update, with extreme cultural significance and importance through every single Wizhead and their entire lives, was Nick Jonas. Putting this update into the tier list, I would probably put this update at S tier, honestly. Wintertusk is an incredible world. You get tons of XP. Keep in mind, Wintertusk crafting gear would have also came in this update too. And then Waterworks, that dungeon, I mean, it's kind of a pain to farm at that level, but it was a new dungeon, new gear, right? And it's staples of the game were added from this update. So yeah, definitely I would put this update in S tier. Back-to-back new worlds? In August 2011, KingsIsle added Wysteria to the game, which means Reddit's favorite NPC, Belladonna Crisp, was also added. New houses were added and teleporters, which must have made the people who do mazes in Wizard101 jump for joy. I mean, you guys can now pain the Wizard101 community by adding teleporters to the mazes. That's so much fun. Other than that, there wasn't really much else in this update, so putting it at the tier list, I would probably put it at about a C tier. Yes, they did add teleporters, which are very good for housing, right? For housing people. But Wysteria, very short-lived world, and the housing stuff is cool and all, but it only affects kind of a niche part of the community. So it bumps it up from maybe being a D tier to a C tier. Three worlds back to back to back. Dang, KingsIsle was really popping off in 2011. In November 2011, Zafaria released, raising the level cap from 60 to 70 and adding 7 brand new 9-pip level 68 spells. That was a mouthful. Anyways, new astral spells were added in Zafaria along with the Pierce stat. Some minor features were pet feeding, the music player, and the character stats page we all know and love today were all added in this update. And fun fact, this was the first update that Blaze Lifehammer, formerly known as Sniper Snape, made a video on. So this is when he started making Wizard101 YouTube content. I found that pretty interesting. So you may look at all these things and say, wow, this update is really good. But no. Let me remind you of what Zafaria used to be. Exactly. I can't put this update too low because of some really cool features I had, like the music player, and I also kind of like the Pierce stat and the new spells. But because of the pain that Zafaria caused me for all these years of questing through it, I'm going to put this update in C tier because of that. Alright, time to review the next Wizard101 update. I really wonder what amazing brand new features are going to be in this. The Glorified Hotfix added the tag game, and that's about it. I mean, if you would like to see the other things that were added, here's the list. It's playing on the screen right now. Yeah. This update is going to be the first F tier. I know it's pretty harsh. I seem pretty harsh doing this because, I mean, even minor things, right? It's not bad. It's not like it hurt the game. But I've seen hotfixes in like 2022, 2023, 2024 even, right? I've seen hotfixes do way more than this update ever even did, and this entire update had. So yeah, straight to F tier. Man, if KingsIsle didn't have that glorified hotfix, they could have had 4 worlds in a row. In May 2012, Avalon released, raising the level cap from level 70 to level 80. A ton of new utility spells were added for every school. Some minor updates include wand displaying, level 78 pet quests, inventory management updates, the scavenger hunt housing game, and a new gardening rank. I would put the Avalon update in A tier. I love Avalon. It's an iconic world and one of my favorites, and the new utility spells were really cool. However, this update didn't really add much else besides those things, and none of those things besides Avalon are really staples of the game. So yeah, I'm putting this update in just A tier. Another update that has absolutely nothing. If you thought the other one was bad, this one is even worse. This one doesn't even fill up an entire page of things that's bad. On screen are all the updates. I mean, what did you expect? Yeah, straight into F tier. There are hotfixes that quadruple what this update does, so yeah. The second major pet update was the Mega Pets update releasing in August 2012. This allowed pets to become the rank of Mega, and it added 2 new pet games. 3 new elixirs were added, the Hatching Elixir, Perot's Potion, and the Crafting Elixirs. Hall monitors, which are basically people that are told by KI to monitor the chat and to mute people if they're being naughty, were added in this update as well. KingsIsle also had been fighting against boosting in PvP, and in this update, they basically did a PSA to the community and said, hey, there's nothing we can do about it. But have some new PvP arenas, though. Oh yeah, and Friend Finder codes were added too because the game Pirate 101 released. This update was kinda mid. None of these features were really that game-changing. Mega Pets may have changed the PvP meta, but because everyone had access to them, it didn't really do much. Furthermore, it just made pets in Wizard101 even worse, and didn't really address any of the issues that I had with pets previous to this. Because of those reasons, I'm going to put this update in the D tier. It feels like every other update in 2012 just added minor features. In September 2012, KingsIsle added the Brick-a-Brack Elixir and a bunch of hotfixes, and that was it. It's kind of cool for the housing community, I guess, but did essentially nothing else for the game. So I want to preface this by saying you will find no update in F tier that was actually harmful to the game. This update included. I'm putting this update in F tier. None of these updates actually harmed the game in any way. I don't think any Wizard101 update really did harm to the game, right? They all did do at least some good, some positive, some net positive. However, the updates that are in F tier are the ones that didn't really do much at all. You'll find that even if it did like a tiny thing, like even if it did like for example, the Schoolhouse update, them tweaking the mobs in Wizard City gave them their iconic looks, right? Gave Lady Blackhope her iconic look, gave Rattlebones his iconic look, etc., etc. That update at least did something. These 3 updates did absolutely nothing to the game, and yeah, that's why I'm putting them all in F tier. For all of you Azteca haters, this is the update you have to blame. In November 2012, KingsIsle released Azteca, increasing the level cap from level 80 to level 90. Furthermore, 7 new rank 10 spells for every scroll were added at level 88. A bunch of new astral spells are added, including staples of the game like Sharpened Blade and Potent Trap. Some minor updates were a new combat tutorial from Diego and a new crafting quest in Azteca. Some of you will be surprised where I put this update. It's going straight into S tier, actually. Yes, I recognize that Azteca is a pain to quest through. This update added Sharpened Blade and Potent Trap, and Azteca was the most content we have ever gotten in a single update. The biggest world in itself was Azteca. People say, oh, Khrysalis was a bigger world, right? Khrysalis was longer. Yes, but Khrysalis was released in 2 parts. This is the most content we have gotten for the game in a single update. And you can't deny the cultural significance of this update. I know it was kind of used as a meme earlier, but Zen Master Blue's first appearance on YouTube was in this update, in the Road to 90 series. So much came from this update, which means I have to put it in S tier. Sorry, Azteca haters. It wouldn't be the final update of 2012 if it wasn't a big nothing burger. Yeah, this update added the food fight minigame, and that's about it. On the screen are the list of hotfixes if you want to pause them and look at them. But yeah, this update's gonna go probably just straight into F tier. Sorry about that. In April 2013, KingsIsle released the Second Age PvP update. To talk about this update, we're gonna need some context. KingsIsle also had been fighting against boosting in PvP, and in this update, they basically did a PSA to the community and said, hey, there's nothing we can do about it, but have some new PvP arenas though. So for the past 9 or so months, KingsIsle had been fighting against boosting in PvP. KingsIsle had been trying to tweak matchmaking and were having a lot of trouble, so in this update, they rolled out a ton of changes to matchmaking and thought it necessary to reset everyone's rank back to 500, thus starting the Second Age. Some other updates were, players that went second in PvP started with an extra pip, leaderboards, the Azteca arena along with new rewards to purchase, and also PvP spectator mode was added as well. That covers the PvP side of this update, but in terms of everything else, the Lost Pages event quest was added, hairstyles were added, which was a much requested feature, and a trivia question for y'all, what's the only thing better than stitching? Unstitching, which was added in this update. I think the most underrated feature of this update though was the Red Barn Farm. That was just an amazing feature and really sped up gardening. Whole lot to talk about from that update, but I think it's important that PvE players kind of understand the PvP side of Wizard101 and basically how neglected the PvP community was for a lot of these updates. This was the first real update that was primarily for PvPers in years. But anyways, I would put this update probably in A tier. Hairstyles were very requested in the community, and the Lost Pages event quest was very cool. And also the PvP changes did fix PvP for a while until later in the year, which we'll get to. But yeah, I'd put this update in A tier. In June 2013, KingsIsle added tournaments to Wizard101. Tournaments were very different back then. You had to pay crowns to enter them, and the rewards were kinda mid. And there was no quick matches, no classic matches, just standard Wizard101 PvP. Some other minor updates included playable musical instruments and removing the ability to decline main quests, which probably helped out a lot of players that accidentally declined main quests. Yeah, this update was pretty mid. Tournaments were very hype back then, but the poor rewards and the crowns cost they had made a barrier to entry, and that brought the update down by quite a bit. And the minor features don't really stand out too much on their own, which means I'm going to put this update in D tier. In August 2013, KingsIsle released 3 brand new dungeons to the game in the new world of Aquila. These dungeons were Mount Olympus for level 30 wizards, Atlantia for level 70 wizards, and Tartarus for level 90 wizards. Along with these dungeons came brand new gear sets for each level. Besides Aquila, another major feature added was the ability to lock items. This made it much harder to accidentally delete or sell things. The Lore Master, a new boss, was added to Dragonspyre. with the ability to drop lore spells for each school. Some minor features were deck renaming and level 75 minions. I would probably put the Aquila update in B tier. Yeah, at the time it was kind of a big update, but the only dungeon that's really even notable today is Mount Olympus. Tartarus is completely outshined by Darkmoor. Atlantia is just a complete joke. The gear is outshined by Waterworks, Zeta Zag. Even Wintertusk crafting gear completely outshines Atlantia. And Olympus gear, while being good, it's replaced relatively quickly. And the only thing that's really bumping it up past maybe C tier is the Sky Iron Hosta, which is a staple of questing. Really good feature was the Sky Iron Hosta. But yeah, I mean, the ability to lock items and the Lore Master were really cool features as well. But they're not enough to bring this update past B tier, so yeah. Aquila, you're going in B. New World Time. In November 2013, KingsIsle released Khrysalis, but only the first half.
Yeah, they had us the first half, I'm not gonna lie.
Along with the release of Khrysalis Part 1, the level cap was increased from level 90 to level 95. A new school of magic was added, Shadow Magic, which had some really cool and unique spells along with a new type of pip, Shadow Pips. Oh yeah, remember how earlier I said that PvP was fixed for now? Well, guess what? A new spell called Shadow Strike broke it again. But this was just the beginning of PvP breaking features. Just wait until next year. Also, KingsIsle added a new NPC named Alan Ghostdust, who gave players a 4th potion. This was to honor a Make-A-Wish kid who sadly passed away named Alan Guzman. He helped make the NPC. Rest in peace, Alan. A new building was added to the Commons, the Castle Tours headquarters. This meant that players could now add their own houses and castles to tours and show them off to the community. Along with this came a new housing identifier, which would tell you what any item is in any house. Tournaments also got some new modes. These included Classic Mode, which was the standard PvP without pets, treasure cards, or amulets, and of course, everyone's favorite, Quick Matches, which were fast-paced matches with damage and pierce increasing every round. I had a lot of fun playing those. Some minor additions were a new gardening rank with Chrysalis Gardening and the Quest Finder. Editing Pluto here, so apparently players are able to button mash on the Dragonfly mount in the Amber Estate and receive temporary mounts of it. KingsIsle patched it in this update and warned players that they might take action against accounts that abuse exploits in the future. Yeah, this is called foreshadowing. Overall, I'd put this update in B tier. Some of these features were really cool. However, this update was the start of many that absolutely gutted PvP. And while I may have put it in maybe S or A tier, because of that fact, it's gonna bump it down to B tier. Yeah, looking at the update notes for this update, there isn't really much to it, and you might expect me to say, yeah, this update had nothing, and move on really fast. But, unfortunately, that's not the case. This update may go down as perhaps the worst update in Wizard101 history, as it caused a massive community uproar. To preface this update wasn't really all that bad, but it's something that came along with this update that was really awful. For context, there had been a bug going around called the Tomato Basket and Glowing Mushroom Glitch. There are essentially 2 items in Azteca that allowed you to pick them up infinitely. Many players abused this and would get basically infinite gold out of it. KingsIsle patched it in this update, but that's not all they did. They also implemented ban waves for many players that were abusing this very minor bug. This was a very similar bug to the Amber Estate Dragonfly of the last update. However, the Tomato Basket and Glowing Mushroom Glitch had been around for a very long time, and it had managed to slip KingsIsle's attention. And when they found out about it, they were not too forgiving. They even banned notable content creators such as Dakota Earthhorn. The community was outraged over these bans, and content creators like Blaze Lifehammer and Zen Master Blue helped get them lifted. Other than that, I guess many worlds had their level requirements reduced in this update. Yeah, this update was probably one of the worst ones, if not the worst one in Wizard101. Straight into F tier. How KingsIsle handled the Tomato Basket glitch was awful, and I'm glad that KingsIsle has gotten a lot better at handling these types of situations, even if they have their hiccups now and again. In March 2014, Team Up was added to Wizard101. This feature made it easier for players to group up for difficult dungeons. I imagine this was in anticipation for some of the dungeons soon to come. Now, the Team Up kiosk was not added in this update, that came much later, but Team Up as a feature did make it into this update, and it made questing a lot easier, even if it was primitive at this stage. Oh, and another thing that made dungeons easier was Dungeon Recall. I am so thankful for this feature. I don't know if I would have maxed another character if this was not in the game. Oh yeah, and there was also a sneak peek teaser for Khrysalis Part 2, and Fire Death, their spells buffed a bit. This update was probably a B tier. The features weren't really, like, game-changing, I guess. And don't get me wrong, they were very good, but they were both very primitive in how they were implemented, and I don't think this update is really on the same level as some of those in A and S tiers, so yeah, gonna put it in B. In April 2014, Khrysalis Part 2 released, which concluded the Morganth saga. However, Arc 2 wouldn't be concluded until later in the year. The level cap was raised as well from level 95 to level 100. A whole bunch of new spells are added. Moonstool shift spells are added, new 4-pip bubbles, and new 2-pip shadow spells or shadow creature spells. Maycast wands were added, or as they were known at the time, shadow forged weapons. Some minor features were Khrysalis crafting, a Castle Games NPC was added to Castle Tours, level 98 pet quests, and a new Insane Bolt animation. This update was probably an A tier. It was a good conclusion to Arc 2, even if Arc 2 wasn't done until Darkmoor was added, and it set up the next arc very nicely, and some of the new spells that were added were really cool. However, the Maycast wands, specifically Root of the Spring, which had a Maycast rebirth, broke PvP even more, and Maycast wands were definitely not helpful for PvP at all, which means it would be bumped down from maybe an S tier to an A. In July 2014, fishing was added to Wizard101. This was likely inspired by Toontown, which also had a fishing system, but essentially everything you can think of from fishing came from this update. That includes a boost to energy, the fishing luck stat, aquarium housing items, a new elixir, and tons of new fish and fishing spells. Other than that, not really much else came from this update. This update will go into B tier. Fishing was a very cool addition to the game, and later down the line, it had some very great rewards. However, when it was added, there wasn't really much to it, and since then, KingsIsle has removed a lot of the rewards that I talked about, and fishing is basically a shell of what it once was, so that's going to bump this update to a B tier. In September 2014, KingsIsle revamped and polished the Crown Shop. The Crown Shop went from looking like this to this. Other than that, pretty much nothing else was in this update. Some minor tweaks to castle blocks and menu chat scrolling, but that was it. Yeah, this update's probably going to go in D tier. This update really did nothing for the game, and the only reason that it's not in F tier is because these updates literally did nothing. This update at least polished the Crown Shop, but if it wasn't for that, this update would probably be an F. Yeah, there's no real substance here, so yeah, D tier. The year 2014 and the finale of Wizard101's second story arc concluded with this update in November. The 4 dungeons, Kembalun, Barkingham Palace, Zigzag, and Darkmoor were all added. Kembalun was a new Himalayan Tibetan-themed dungeon for level 25 wizards. The gear was kinda mid. Barkingham Palace was a new dungeon for level 40 wizards in Marleybone. The gear was also pretty mid, however the rings and decks were alright. Zigzag was a new level 60 dungeon in Krakatopia. The robes, amulets, and decks were pretty good, however the rest of the gear was pretty bad. And finally, Darkmoor, the ultimate challenge. At that moment, this was the most difficult dungeon in Wizard101, with the final boss being Malastare. This dungeon was where Wizard101 peaked. Everyone wanted the new Malastare gear from Darkmoor. While the other 3 dungeons were pretty mid or kind of okay, Darkmoor beat them all out, with brand new meta hats, robes, boots, amulets, rings, athames, and decks for every single school, and new shadow enhanced spells. Along with these new dungeons, skeleton keys were added, which presented more challenging secret bosses with special loot. New member benefits were rolled out, which were increased backpack space and friends lists, along with recurring benefits such as double gardening and double reagents that would rotate and be available for a limited time. Along with this, Midas snacks were made craftable through fishing, which made it much more popular. Specifically, golden wheat bread recipe was added to Shazam in Croctopia. Some minor features were the Catch a Key game, equipment sets, combat idol, and some minor spell buffs. This update is going to be very hard for me to rank. Looking at it from a PvP side, I see a B tier, maybe even a C tier update. And that's because of Shadow Enhanced spells. They absolutely decimated PvP, and Darkmoor gear was ultimately way too powerful in PvP at the time. But from a PvE side of things, this update was incredible. Skeleton keys, Darkmoor gear, and some of the most amazing additions we've seen in Wizard101 at the time. So I'm going to meet it in the middle and probably put the update at A tier. Hello everybody, Pluto here. Just wanted to do a quick chat at the end of the video to explain some things and just, I guess, do a little bit of an FAQ kind of thing, just because this is a very different video than what I typically make. First and foremost, I hope you guys enjoyed that video. I worked very hard on it. I started that video in December of 2023. I think I had like maybe 100 subscribers. I've gained like 1,000 since then, which I know isn't a lot, but for me it really is. Like it's been a while. That video has been in the process of being made for so long. I've put it off sometimes and come back to it, and I'm just glad I was finally able to get it out to you guys. I wanted to get it out for Wizard101's 16th birthday, which is September 2nd. Make sure you guys like do, you know, the happy birthdays to Wizard101 or whatever. But I really wanted to get it out for that because I thought it would be a very special video to make. I would have loved to do it in both parts. I really wanted to. It was just taking me way too long, and I realized I need to do this in 2 parts. I just need to get something out there, and I can do the second part later, but I really need to just get this video out because I'm not going to be able to get it out if I don't just do it now and stop putting it off. I'm sorry if this is kind of like a ramble. I have some notes, but I kind of just stopped looking at them, which is probably bad. I should probably look at those, but yeah. Anyways, part 2 should be out later this year after the fall update. I'm going to include the fall update in the video, so whatever that is, it will be in the part 2 video. These videos will become outdated really fast, so I just want to try and make it right after the fall update to try and maximize the amount of time that it's not outdated for. But if it's not out by then or after the fall update, or if it takes me a little bit longer, I'm very sorry. Again, these types of videos take a very long time, but I'm going to try my best to have it out before 2025. We're going to have to see how it goes. I really hope so. Depending on how long it takes me, I may split part 2 into parts 2 and 3. I may basically split part 2 into 2 parts as well. But for now, part 2 will have everything from 2015 onwards. That's my kind of plan here. I also plan to update this series every couple years or so when there's a bunch more updates, you know, to talk about. I want this to be kind of like a long form, like part 1 is like 40 minutes, part 2 is like 40 minutes, part 3 would be whatever, 40 minutes or whatever as well. So it'll probably be a few years after this second video is uploaded that I actually make another video on the series, like another update video. So it'll probably be a while, but what I am planning on doing just to kind of circumvent that for y'all is I'm gonna have like either as YouTube shorts or as just a general part of a video, I guess, kind of like update detail in this kind of format, basically. So whenever new updates come out, I'm gonna make an update video or whatever in this kind of format and either put it in a video or make it into a YouTube short. So you'll still have kind of like the new updates as well, and you'll be able to see them as well. I'm just gonna wait until I make them all into one big video because I want it to be kind of a long video. I also am sorry if the beginning of this video looks rough or sounds a little bit rough. Like I said, I started making this when I had like 100 subscribers. It was like 8, 9, 10 months ago, maybe, probably even a little bit longer than that I started making this video. I barely knew how to edit. I had a really bad mic, and I have a better mic now, but it's still not very good. So yeah, I'm sorry about that. It might seem a little bit rough or something. I apologize. If you guys really enjoy these long form videos though, I have some more that I would really love to make after this series, so please let me know if you guys want to see them. If you guys really want me to make a video detailing every Pirate 101 update as well, I'll do it if this video gets, let's say, 500 likes and quite a large amount of views, like maybe 10,000 or something. I'll make a video for Pirate 101. I know that that's a lot. That's actually more than any single Wizard 101 video I've gotten on my channel, more likes at least. But these videos take me so long to make, and I really gotta know that you guys want this video. You guys want a pirate video. I gotta know that there's high demand for it. So please, if you want to see a pirate video, like, subscribe, support me in any way that you can. I appreciate anything you guys do to help me with these, because I gotta know that the demand is there, and it takes me a very long time to make these. So yeah, and to anyone watching and made it to the end, please comment your thoughts. I'll respond to every comment on this video, and I don't know how many there'll be. This video, for all I know, could end up blowing up and I get like 1,000 comments or something. I don't know. Maybe I'm being a little bit too wishful thinking there. But for all I know, this video could get quite a bit of comments. I'm going to respond to every single one. I've never done that before. It might take me years, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to respond to every single one. So please leave a comment on the video. Tell me what you guys think. Just comment your thoughts. Tell me if you want to see more long form videos. Please just tell me everything. Also, please like and subscribe so I know you guys like this style of video as well. It helps me out a ton. And like I always say, it keeps me motivated to make more videos for you guys. And it will especially motivate me to make part 2. If this video blows up, I'll make part 2 really quickly, I promise. Also, join my Discord too. If you guys could help me get to like 100 members or so on my Discord, that would be incredible. I'm also planning on making a guild. I'm going to have a little bit of an announcement video either coming out soon or it's already come out yet. I don't know. It just depends on when they upload this video. But please help me get to 100 members or so on my Discord. That'd help me out a ton, and that would be incredible. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you again for part 2. Take care, team, and happy 16th birthday, Wizard101.